I wanted to share my 5 rules as it relates to you starting on your fitness journey. And there's going to be temptations to take the day off, not do anything, have the snack. And those are actually all things that you earn later on, right? In the beginning, being strict is actually the best way to go about things. This is where you actually rewire your brain, you retrain your thought patterns, you start to understand who you want to become. And so it takes a lot more work to build up to that rather than to maintain it, which that's where I am in my journey. I'm in the maintenance phase, which seems pretty damn easy because I can skip a workout here and there if I need to, which I usually don't, or I can have a 4:30 in the afternoon donut before dinner because I've got enough muscle on my frame to manage that spike in blood sugar. But let's talk about the 5 rules that I think are important for people who are just starting out because this is where you build the foundation. All right. So rule number 1 is that the actual workouts are non-negotiable. I don't care if you're at home, if you're on the road, if you're visiting friends, visiting family, if your workouts depend on your schedule, that means they're optional. And if there's an option to not do something, human nature says we're probably not going to do it. So, in your first 6 months, like your workouts have to become your daily hygiene. And it's not a formal, structured workout in that way. It's more of I have a dedicated time to go and move my body. It's kinda like brushing your teeth. You don't skip days when you're brushing your teeth, but we'll easily skip a day where we don't either work out or be active, right? So, rule 1, make training mandatory. You don't debate it, you don't fight it, you don't try to fit it in, you have it scheduled and you show up every single day. And eventually, it just becomes part of what you do and who you are. It just kinda happens, okay? So then rule number 2, life gets busy. I need you to stay on plan, especially when it's inconvenient. Very easily, I could have said at any point in the last few weeks, you know what? I need that extra hour of sleep. I'm more stressed. Like, yeah, pretty easy. And on the flip side of that, training is really easy when life is calm. But training when life is calm doesn't build the resilience to stress that you think it does, right? It's like thinking everything is 70 and sunny all the time. You don't get used to extreme heat and you don't get used to extreme cold. That's where travel, stress, busy weeks, lots of meetings, bad calls, good calls. These are the tests that put our fitness on display. And so if you haven't built the routine, you haven't built the habits that withstand all of those things with you, then when life gets crazy, things are going to fall apart. And that just means you actually haven't built a solid routine yet. So even when stuff starts to go sideways, you can fall back on your fitness and still be able to perform at a really high level. All right. Rule number 3, more than just training your body, you have to retrain your brain. And this isn't just the physical part, this is actually the neurological connections in that gray matter that you have to rewire and to start to think a little bit differently. Now, so more than ever, we all live on high levels of dopamine. Everything we do gives us that feeling of satisfaction. And it's kind of like just doom scrolling. We get the hit of dopamine and we keep going. Ultra processed foods, we eat those, they taste really good. It's like Pringles says you can't have just one. That's by design. Your brain wants those easy hits of satisfaction. Fitness doesn't do that to you, and it doesn't do it for you. It's more of a delayed gratification approach. So when you start training and you start kind of doing the hard things, your brain, more so than your body, reacts and says, "Whoa, we got to pump the brakes. This is not the easy path. Go back and find the easy path." And that's normal. But when you start to finally get into a groove and you start training, This is where your brain starts to realize, hey, this actually isn't that hard. More often than not, we're actually putting a lot more anxiety in front of doing something that is seemingly hard than there actually is. Like, I do this to myself all the time. I build up these like worrisome thoughts of like, well, what if it goes wrong? And once I finally do the thing, then I realize, oh, that actually wasn't that bad. Now I can do it more. And so this is the phase, these first 6 to 12 months, this is where you go through that brain rewiring. And it takes time, it takes repetitions. This is not just something where you can one click on Amazon and get it delivered tomorrow gratification. This is really getting reps at doing the thing. So when you need to pull back and start to rewire your brain, you're going to have pushback from your body. Just know that that's normal, but you don't have to cave to it. And if you're working with a coach, especially someone like me, having the ability to work through some of those cravings or some of that pushback from your brain and your body, that's going to be what gets you through the first 6 to 12 months, not quitting and restarting. That actually puts you further behind than you think it does. Okay. Now, along those same lines, because we're in this rewiring phase, rule number 4 is titrate yourself. And if you don't remember, go back to 10th grade physical science. Titrating just means adding a little bit at a time until you get more. So rather than dumping the chemicals together all at once, you use the dropper method approach. And so this just means add a little bit to your plate at a time. Don't just fill it up and then feel overwhelmed, because most people fail when they try to jump into like these super structured, super advanced routines. That's not how it works. We want to create small wins that compound over time. When you're working with a coach, hopefully they are helping meet you where you are and challenge you outside your comfort zone, because that's where growth happens. But then from there, it's not just keeping the challenge static. You don't just beat the challenge and life ends. The challenge is an ever moving goalpost. And so the gradual increase in challenge aligns with your evolution and the rewiring of your brain. Because here's the thing, you're not proving how tough you are by restarting 75 hard over and over and over. I want you to actually go and build something, not just jump on the wagon and then fall off because things don't work. If you can get some early wins and you can start to see some early progress, you're more likely to stick with it. And it makes the rewiring that we talked about in rule number 3 that much easier and that much stickier. And then our final rule, before you allow yourself any sort of flexibility, build the foundation first. Everybody wants to live in a perfect work-life balance. Like, I can't tell you how many trainers that we were hiring at one of my last roles that you know they wanted to come in and they wanted to make $100,000 right off the bat. Well, bro, you're making minimum wage and you don't want to work more than 20 hours a week. Like, that to me is a mismatch of expectations and reality. Like, there is no balance. You've actually got to go and do the work. And training as the client is the exact same way. Like, I know that it's going to be very hard and you're going to have to sacrifice some things in the short term. But the sacrifices in the short term pay off in the long term. Because once you climb that hill and get to that plateau of maintenance where you're in a good spot with your stress management, you're in a good spot with your training frequency, you're in a good spot with your body composition, right? We've reached some of those initial goals. Then you have the ability to say, you know what? I actually don't feel well today. I'm going to take the day and come back tomorrow a little bit stronger. Or, you know what? We're going out to my favorite restaurant and I really like that dessert. I'm having it tonight. And then you won't feel guilty about it. But doing that along the way in the beginning doesn't actually help you, right? Sticking to the plan, building the foundation, and not allowing any room for excuses might seem like a harsh approach. But you know what is also harsh? And I think I've mentioned this before. If you're told to put on your oxygen mask in the case of an emergency on a flight, and I've heard this now 6 times in the last 3 weeks, you're asked to do yours first because you are the most important person. So before you can help anyone else, You put your mask on so that you can then go help others. People will understand. That's a small sacrifice for others for you to have the ability to make even bigger changes. But the more you chip away at that foundation before the routine and the habits are in place, the less stable it's going to be and the less likely you are to stick with it. And so I know these 5 rules probably don't sound the most fun, but they are kind of cool because at the end of the day, you get to a point where you don't live in restriction. You can have the donut or the latte or the ice cream or the gummy bears. In my case, I know you guys know I eat a lot of those because you live in maintenance, right? You get to a point where you're strict enough and you're able to start to live the lifestyle rather than survive the challenge. That's where things are cool, and that's where things really start to be a little bit more normal. And here's the thing. Don't compare your normal to anyone else around you because you have a specific goal in mind that you're trying to reach. And at the end of the day, it's on you to achieve that goal. So, keep this in mind. You can have treats once you establish the game plan. You can take days off once you establish the habits. And at the end of the day, if you were to do all of this over the next 12 months and look back at where you started, you won't recognize that body. It won't look the same way, it won't feel the same way, and you are not going to be the same person because you have become a better version of yourself because you've held yourself accountable. Just like coaches in the past have held you accountable, you are now your own coach. Again, unless you're working with someone like me. So, taking the first 6 to 12 months seriously, like guys, things don't change in 4 weeks, they don't change in 12 weeks. They sometimes don't even change in 6 months. But if you commit to a year of doing the hard things without rushing through, without skipping steps, that's going to be the difference between who you are now and who you are a year from now. And this is not the most exciting part. The most exciting part is still to come. You do it right, your life actually gets easier, not harder. You can travel, you can go and play and do stuff with your kids, or you can continue to be inconsistent, get those stupid aches and pains, and that's kind of how your life goes on until you retire and do something else. So I want to make sure that you know that these are the 5 rules for making it happen while you're traveling, but especially when you're on the beginning part of your journey. That's why 75 hard is so effective. That's why some of these 12-week challenges are super effective. But typically, those are just the beginning. There has to be follow up work done in order to make it sticky. So I'll leave you with that. We'll chat again next week. I won't be on the road, thank goodness. And hopefully, we'll have some coherent thoughts to share with you more about training, more about nutrition, and more about lifestyle for my ex athletes out there. Talk soon.